I, 26F, need opinions. I'm a little afraid of moaning to internet strangers, but what the hell. I need to point out that I was raised by two parents who absolutely love and respect each other. I don't know if this is pertinent, but I was an oops. This post is about priorities. My mom's priority has always been my dad. My dad's priorities are his daughter Claire from his first marriage, my mom, and his work. Dad met the ex in grad school, where their friendly rivalry turned to love. Unfortunately, the rivalry continued into their marriage, and they finally divorced when Claire was 2. My dad has always felt guilty about this since he'd come from a broken home. Still, it didn't stop him from taking his dream job 5 hours away once the divorce was finalized. My dad is a very successful man, except if you compare him to the ex. If it were a race, he'd still be at the starting line and she would have already run around the track 3 times. I can't say if his actions were all for Claire or just the remnants of his competition with the ex, but he made every effort to stay in Claire's life, and he paid for it. He and ex split everything for her living expenses, boarding school, college, and grad school. Claire never once thanked him, although she always made a big show to thank her mom. He'd call her, but she never called him. 3 years ago, she called and told him she was engaged. He was in the middle of congratulating her when she cut him off to tell him that his half of the costs for the wedding and honeymoon was $85,000. He said no and hung up. He obviously regretted this because when she turned up 9 months ago divorced, jobless and broke, he took her in. Claire has never told my parents what happened with her job or her marriage. She says she's only looking forward, and for now, she just wants to be daddy's little girl again. In case you're curious, she's 34. And since she knows her own self-worth, she is not going to settle for any job. Unfortunately, as my dad is unable to magic a vice presidency for her at his company, she remains unemployed. As for me, my mom decided early on that she wasn't going to raise an entitled ingrate and ran with it. She did all the childcare. She thought my dad couldn't handle 2 children. I had to get a part-time job at 15. I was lucky to get a full scholarship to an excellent state university. I worked through university and was responsible for all my personal expenses. My parents did help with my rent. I'd also been told that I would be on my own for grad school. Was I resentful? Yes, but not about the money they didn't give me. It was about all the money given to Claire. This leads to my 21st birthday. It was late in the first semester of my senior year. I had been applying to grad schools and was hoping for scholarships, or that maybe my parents would be willing to co-sign a loan. After returning from a birthday dinner with my friends, I found that my parents had sent me a box of groceries for my birthday. They'd done this every year, but it really pissed me off that time. I am not a drinker, but I went and bought a bottle of wine and a scratch ticket. I was halfway through my second glass when I found a dime to scratch the ticket. It looked like I had won $2 million. I thought I was drunk, so I went to bed. But it was still $2 million when I got up the next morning. I didn't tell anyone and kept it in my bra for 3 days until I could get over to a lottery office. The check arrived while I was on winter break. I finally told my parents, and they sent me to a financial advisor. This was probably the best thing they ever did for me. We all know what happened in March 2020. I did go to grad school. The first semester was online. I put some money aside for investments and started the process of having my house built. Actually, it is 2 connecting tiny houses built on a foundation. I did not want them flying off a La Dorothy's house in The Wizard of Oz. My parents told me I could build it on their land. They own 5 acres. It was my dad who suggested it. I was so touched. I thought he might actually have conversations with me. The house is very whimsical and is only a 30-minute drive to my office. Unfortunately, Claire has taken a liking to it as well. My mom was the driving force behind this mess. Even prior to Claire, she regarded my home as a repository for problematic guests. Upon seeing my home, Claire expressed the need to spread her wings a little and find her own place close to Dad. My mom suggested my house. She wants Claire out. Claire isn't exactly a ray of sunshine, and it is the only way to get her out of their house without pissing off my dad. Dad loved the idea. The 3 of them started talking as if it were a done deal. She'd move into my house, and I'd move back in with Mom and Dad. Finally, I said no. Then they told me that I hadn't earned the house. It wasn't the result of hard work or struggle. I'd just been lucky and was now unwilling to help. I kicked them out. This was 5 months ago, and I have been paying $750 per month for use of the land. I just avoid them. There were many delays when I initially placed my house on my parents' property. I knew little about the process or the permits / off needed, but now I know the drill. I bought a small piece of land shortly after they asked me to let Claire move in and began the process of moving the house. I officially moved back in 3 days ago. The new site is a bit closer to stores and restaurants and has more of a neighborhood feel. I coordinated this to coincide with my father's European business trip. My dad, mom, and Claire have all been in Europe for the past month. They do not know that I have moved or where I have moved. And this brings me to priorities. It's now clear that I've never been a priority for either of my parents. This last incident showed that they don't even care about what's best for me. As a matter of fact, it's all about what's best for everyone except me. I'm not sure if I even have the right to complain. I was fed and clothed and housed as a child. I've been treated as an adult since I was 10 and able to take on chores and responsibilities. I often wonder if it was me instead of Claire showing up broke. I don't think I would have gotten unfettered sympathy, even though it is fake on my mother's part. I want to go no contact with them. Now is the perfect opportunity. But I want one chance to tell them what I really think of them and how their actions have affected me. Doing so won't change anything except make me feel better. My parents not going to change. But should I? Is it worth it? Or should I just let it go and freeze them out? Any advice would be appreciated. Update. I want to thank everyone who took the time to read my post and comment. I was surprised and really touched by the kindness and support. I've been reading all the comments and responded to a few, but then my dad showed up at my door early Sunday morning at 6:45 a.m. He came by to ask for the name and number of my tiny house builder. I had to invite him in because I needed coffee. He said he and my mom had decided to downsize. They were going to sell their house as well as 3 of their 5 acres. They are keeping the 2 acres with the best views, my home's prior location, and want to place a tiny house there. It took a while, 2 cups of coffee and a toasted bagel, to wrangle the following out of him, but it's a doozy. I have to go back a bit. When Claire received her MBA, the ex her mom used her connections to get her a job at a prestigious company. The following's going to sound bitchy, but it is true. Claire would never have hired for at that company without her mother's help. It was her first job. Not her first big job. No, it was her first job ever. This company requires prior work experience, not totally out of left field, but they made exception for Claire. She was working with folks who actually had work experience, as well as degrees from the Ivy League and other top-tier schools. She did not attend top-tier schools, although she did choose some pricey alternatives. Claire worked there for 3 or 4 years and was moving nowhere with her career. She told my dad it was sexism, but then she made a lateral move into Mr. Ed's division. Mr. Ed had been recently widowed and they just clicked. My dad isn't sure how quickly Mr. Ed progressed from boss to mentor to boyfriend, but there has gone on for years. Except for a break during COVID, it continued through her engagement and marriage. Her career progressed rapidly as well. However, when Mr. Ed tried to her an assistant vice president, HR stepped in. Both were fired. It gets better. My parents and Claire arrived home the day before I made my post, and Mr. Ed was waiting for them at the house. He and Claire are engaged. Mr. Ed is 2 years older than my dad. He calls my dad Pa. Dad is not amused. Mr. Ed has had some ongoing legal issues. He's been in a battle with his 2 stepchildren and bio-child over their mother's estate. They have been in and out of mediation for years. It looked like most of the major issues had been resolved until the kids found out that he had given Claire all of their mother's jewelry. The battle rages on. He had also started a lawsuit against his and Claire's former company, but the company finally settled. My mom and dad do not like him. Although my mom thinks he is perfect for Claire, they did not like how he spoke about his children. He considers them disposable because Claire is more important. And that got my parents thinking about me. Oh, many of you were right. They did not even notice my house was gone until their neighbor dropped by and mentioned how I was now living on the block where his son's fiancée lives. My dad admitted they had made mistakes with me. My mom had stayed home because she was afraid that I would slam the door in her face. So my dad asked if a large check would fix things. I told him I did not want his money. He laughed and said it was the first time one of his children had said that to him. He asked if I would have breakfast with them at their favorite diner on Friday at 7 a.m. I said no, because the diner does not open until 8 a.m. He said they always go early so that they can get their favorite table. I finally agreed. I also told them it would be easier just to ask Claire and Mr. Ed to leave. He said they want a more minimalistic lifestyle. They've been watching YouTube videos in Dad's office since Claire and Mr. Ed have taken over the family room. Then he started asking about how long it took for my house to be built. I went through it with him and mentioned that he could just buy a used one. I guess Friday will be a good opportunity to tell them what I think, but I had a good opportunity yesterday and didn't take it. I don't know why. Thanks again for all of your kindness. As usual, if you have any suggestions on how I should handle the Friday breakfast, I would really appreciate it.